Hi everyone. Today we are going to read a book called A Frog's Dangerous Home. And now this book is about a yellow-legged mountain frog who wakes up from hibernation. Pollen, invasive fish, and a deadly fungus make his day dangerous. Will he survive? So I want you to think about what you already know about frogs. This week and last week we've been studying about frogs and where frogs live and how frogs grow and develop. So I want you to think about everything you know about frogs. Next, I want you to think about, where do frogs live? Where do they live? Do they live on land? Do they live in swamps? Do they live in trees? Do they live underwater? Do they live above water? Where do they live? Before we get reading, we're going to talk about some vocab words. And there's a text feature that we've learned about when we were face-to-face at school. And that text feature had the definitions of different vocabulary words. Does anybody remember where we can find, or what that text feature is and where we can find it if we're looking for vocab words? So if we are looking for vocab words, we would go to the glossary. And the glossary is usually at the back of the book. So we're going to flip through, look at all the great pictures, and we're going to go to the back of the book. Whoops, went too far. In the back of the book, we have glossary. And the glossary, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it better, has some vocab words that might be useful to knowing before we read the book. So we're going to read through the vocab words. Absorb is the first word. Absorb. Absorb means to soak up liquids or gases through tiny holes in the skin called pores. So if you have a sponge and you're looking at that sponge and then you put water on that sponge, the sponge will absorb the water. So that's using absorb as an example. Okay? So it's soaking up that water. It's absorbing the liquid. Our next vocab word is invasive. An invasive means a plant or animal that is not originally from an area and it's causing problems. So sometimes we think about invasive species or invasive animals or invasive plants. They just mean they are invading the territory. So they're invading the area. So if you think about an invader, I like to think about an invader. If you have an invader coming into your home, they're not supposed to be there, right? So that's similar to what the word invasive means. Something that's not usually from there, and it's going to cause some problems. Okay? Our next word is mate. Okay? And there's two different ways you can look at mate. So mate is like your first mate on a ship, or in this case, it's one of two animals in a pair that comes together to make babies. So mate just means a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or someone that's going to come together to make babies. Okay? Next word is pesticides. Now this is a tricky word. Pesticides. And pesticides are chemicals meant to kill unwanted insects, animals, or plants. Pesticides. Does your mom or dad garden, or maybe your grandma or grandpa gardens, or you see a lawnmower or a lawn crew, a lawn service at your house or somebody else's house? Sometimes they're spraying a chemical on your lawn that kills weeds. So a lot of times weeds will start to grow in your garden or in your yard and you don't want them there. And a way to get rid of them is to use pesticides, and it will kill those weeds. You can also use pesticides on insects. So I know for me, in the summertime, I get a lot of mosquito bites. And in order to keep the mosquitoes away, some people will spray pesticides or chemicals that will kill those mosquitoes. So pesticides is the word. And our last word that we're going to talk about is, tadpole. Now, we know about tadpoles because of our activities this week on our Wakelet. So a tadpole is just a baby frog that just hatched from an egg. Tadpoles go through a transformation to become frogs. So tadpoles have little swim underwater, and they have a tail, and that's what hatches right out from the frog egg. So first we have the frog egg, then we get the tadpole, then we get the froglet, and then we get the frog. Okay, so there's the tadpole. Now that we know our vocab words, we're going to go start our reading. So I'm going to go turn back to the beginning of the book. And before we start, I want you to think about, just based on the pictures we saw, is this book fiction or nonfiction? Think about that. Okay, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the story once we've read it. So today we are going to read so that we can figure out why this frog has a dangerous home and if he will survive. Okay? Click, click. Did you hear that? That was the croak of a mountain, yellow-legged frog. He calls for a mate. There's our vocab word. Do you remember what the word mate means? Yep. So he's calling for somebody to help him make babies. This frog was hibernating on the bottom of a lake. He lives high in the California mountains. It wasn't too long ago when frogs were dying in this lake. I wonder why the frogs are dying. A deadly fungus was killing them. What was killing them? A deadly fungus? I'm not sure what a fungus is. I know that sometimes my mom says that there's mold on the bread, so maybe a mold is kind of like a fungus. So fungus is just a green mold-like substance. It's kind of like a plant. Now this frog is awake and ready to mate. First, he must eat. A bright blue dragonfly flies by. The frog's sticky tongue darts out of his mouth. It grabs the bug. Gulp! In the blink of an eye, the dragonfly is gone. Wow, that has to be fast. If it's gone in a blink of an eye, that means it's gone before you blink. Frogs eat all kinds of bugs. They help keep bugs from becoming a problem. But if there aren't many bugs, frogs won't have enough food. So they eat bugs. And if there aren't that many bugs, then they won't have food to eat. The frog sees two scientists on the shore. They are here to test the water. One scientist collects a water sample to check for pesticides. Pesticides is one of our vocab words. Do you remember what pesticides means? Pesticides are chemicals that kill plants and bugs. The frog's skin absorbs air and water. If there are chemicals in the water, the frogs in the lake will get sick. Now, how are they going to get sick? Well, it says that the frog's skin absorbs air and water, so if there are chemicals in the water, the frog is going to absorb them or take them in like a sponge. Suddenly, a net falls over the frog. A scientist picks him up. She softly runs a cotton swab across his skin. She is checking for chytrid fungus. Chytrid fungus kills amphibians all over the world. The scientists hope this frog doesn't have the fungus. What would happen if he did have the fungus? Right, he probably would die. So why do you think she's hoping that he doesn't have the fungus? The scientist gently returns the frog to the ground. She didn't hurt the frog, and he is ready to continue searching for his mate. Why did the scientist return the frog back to the ground? Do you think the frog had the fungus? Do you think the scientist might have not returned him if the frog did have the fungus? I think so. I think she would have kept him and maybe taken him to the lab, and I don't know if she could help him. He jumps back into the water and starts swimming away. What is he going to go do now? Now that he's back in the water, what is he going to go do? What did he want to do in the beginning? He was looking for what? A mate. Whoosh! Suddenly, the frog realizes he's being chased. A trout races up with its mouth open wide. It is trying to eat the frog. The frog kicks his strong legs and swims under a log. He is safe for now. So what is a trout? Looking at the picture, could a trout be the log? No. Could the trout be the frog? No. Could the trout be these fish? Yeah. So a trout is just a type of fish. Now, if the frog did have the fungus and was sick, and the trout was after him and ate the frog, do you think the trout would have the fungus now, since he ate a contaminated frog? Think about that. These trout weren't always in this lake. They are invasive. There's one of our vocab words, invasive. Remember, invasive are animals or plants that this wasn't really their home, that are coming to invade, that were brought there to take over. They are invasive. They were stocked in this lake so people could go fishing. So they were put here in this lake. They're not really from this lake. Somebody put them in the lake so that people could go out there and fish on the lake and catch some trout. So they're invading the lake. They're taking over the lake. They're invading their invasive species, invasive fish. The frogs are not used to the trout. Some of them don't escape. There are fewer frogs in the lake. Why would there be fewer frogs in the lake? What is around that's making those frogs go away? Right? The trout. The trout are eating the frogs. The frog pops up. He sees two googly eyes staring back at him. It is a female mountain yellow-legged frog. Ooh, the same frog that he is. He has found a mate. After mating, the female will lay up to 350 eggs. They will hatch into tadpoles. So what stage of the life cycle of a frog are these in? These frogs in? Right, the tadpole stage. So before the tadpole stage, they were eggs. Now they're tadpoles. Then they're going to get tadpoles with legs. Then they're going to be little froglets, and then they're going to turn into a frog. This frog is lucky. Yellow-legged frogs nearly died out in this lake, but scientists have worked hard to help frogs fight the chytrid fungus in the lake. Now the numbers of frogs is growing. Frogs need us to help keep their homes clean and safe. So what's happening to the frogs in this lake? What's the problem? They're dying. And why are they dying? What two ways are they dying? What are they dying from? So I know that first they were dying from the fungus, and now they're dying from the trout. Where mountain yellow-legged frogs live. Mountain yellow-legged frogs live in alpine lakes along North America's west coast. So here is where these frogs live. And this looks like California. So we live way over here. It's not even on the map in North Carolina. And over here is California, where the mountain yellow-legged frogs live. Now we have two more headers. These are called headers, right? Two more little paragraphs about frogs. Frogs at risk. Frogs all over the world are facing danger. Invasive predators and water pollution are big problems for them. So water pollution, I know what pollution is. It's that smoke in the air. It makes it not look great. Our country or our city look great. So water pollution, maybe it's going into the water. So maybe trash into the water. They're polluting the water. Luckily, natural resource departments and volunteer groups are helping. They remove pollution like trash from frog habitats, teach people how to avoid pesticides, and even take frogs to labs to help them fight chytrid fungus. You can help frogs, so how can we help? We can buy organic food. Organic farmers don't use pesticides. They don't use those chemicals. Write letters. Ask government officials to write laws that help keep the environment safe for all animals. We can build a backyard pond. Frogs and other amphibians everywhere need a clean and safe place to live. So those are some ways you can help. All right, and we have finished our book. I hope you enjoyed.